Hello everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Destiny video. Today Fantasy Flight announced the next expansion for Destiny, which should be out in the second quarter of this year, and they spoiled a handful of cards. We're going to go through those cards and just go through them really quickly. We'll get to Jyn Erso in a second because her card and die have been fully spoiled. Some of these cards to my the left over here um, are kind of covered, so we can't see them all. But we're going to go through all the cards that they've spoiled so far, and there's some pretty interesting stuff here. So we're going to take a look at supply line. The die has been spoiled at least, but we don't know exactly. It's probably going to be a support. Looks like a support to me. Cost one resource. It has a focus side, a resource side, a +1 resource side, another +1 resource side, a special, and a blank. We don't know what that special does yet because it's obviously obscured by the other cards. We have the Death Trooper. We'll get to the Death Trooper in a moment because they fully spoiled that one as well. We have Chirrut Emu. I don't know how you pronounce it, but Chirrut. Blue character from Rogue One. Interesting. So it looks like he has 11 points or 11 hit points. Has a 1 range damage side, a +2 range damage side, a 2 melee damage side, a +1 melee damage side, a resource, and a blank. And you cannot play blue abilities on this character and then something after you activate this character do something. Can't really see what that is because the card is obscured currently. But I really like this. I'm not sure what the point value is going to be. And I like that they're keeping it thematic. Like he's a force user somewhat, but he doesn't have like a bit. He's just a guardian, so he doesn't have, he can't use force choke or force throws or anything like that. So you can use him in your deck to get blue cards, but you can't use blue upgrades on him. He's probably going to pair well with somebody like Luke. If you have a Luke Skywalker, you can use him in there. I'm not sure what his point value is yet. We'll get to Jyn Erso a little bit later in the video. We have the Personnel Shield. I'm not sure if it's a hero or villain card or neutral. I'm guessing it'll be either hero or neutral, but it looks like it costs 2 resources. To equipment, it says before the attached character is dealt 1 or more range damage, you may exhaust this upgrade to give them 1 shield. That appears to be what it is saying. We're going to look at some of the other characters in just a moment, so we'll be right back with that. We'll be taking a look at Jyn Erso and a few of the other characters that they spoiled. So we'll be right back with that. And here we are with the Jyn Erso card and die. I like that they made her yellow because she's not exactly military. She's kind of on her own in the beginning of the film, and then gets embroiled in the rebellion. So I like the fact that they made her yellow. She has 11 hit points. It's either worth 15 or 20 points, depending on how many dice you're going to use of her. Kind of expensive, so you can run, elite Jyn with maybe like a rebel trooper or something like that. But it's going to be interesting to also see what they do with the other characters from Rogue One. So we're going to take a look at her die really quick. She's got a pretty interesting die. So she has 2 range damage, 2 more range damage, 1 discard, 2 discard, a resource, and a blank. And our ability of the first yellow event you play each round is decreased by 1. So certainly that makes a lot of stuff very affordable. I think you can also pair this with Han if you were to just maybe run 1 of each. I think Han is Han 14, I believe, for a single. So single Jyn Erso, single Han. Yellow events costing less is going to, you can play your ambush stuff for cheaper and have Han get shields. I like that she has 2 damage sides and 2 very strong damage sides for 2 each. And then she's going to fit into mill decks as well because you have 2 mill sides as well, 1 for 1 and 1 for 2. So she may pair up well with Padme, and then that of course gives you access to yellow equipment like thermal detonators and things like that. So I think she is a very strong card. I'm a little bit surprised she's only at rare. I thought when they announced the Rogue One set and I was kind of thinking of what the character would be in my head, I was thinking she would be legendary. But she's a rare. Like I said, 15 or 20 points, depending on if you want to go with a single die or the elite version. I like her die, and I like that she has 11 hit points. We're gonna jump into some of the other characters. We'll be right back with that, so stay tuned. All right, and here we are with the Director Krennic card and die, and he has a very interesting ability. I believe this is the first character to do something like this, that at least that I've seen. Let's take a look at the card and die here. So we have Director Krennic, cruel but brilliant, 12 points. Is worth 15 or 19 points, depending on how many dice you're going to run. Has a interesting die, so he has 2 range damage, 1 focus, 2 disrupt, 2 discard, a resource, and a blank. So he does a little bit of damage. He's not. He's more like the officer who's commanding his troops. So he is going to be doing more disrupt and discard stuff than damage. It looks like. I mean, I guess he only has 2 sides that do disrupt and damage, but also the focus is nice as well. Has 12 hit points, and after you activate this character, if you control the battlefield, roll a Death Trooper die into your pool. Set aside that die after it is resolved. So I don't think that means you have to have a Death Trooper in your team. This is kind of like there's a couple magic cards that let you search for stuff that's outside of the game and bring it in. It lets you bring like an Eldrazi card into the game. So essentially, you can run like 1 Krennic for 15 points, and then whatever the rest of your team's going to be. And after you activate the character, I guess you get to just roll that die into your pool and then remove it once it gets resolved, and that's whenever you activate the character. So you're going to be getting that extra Death Trooper out fairly often, it looks like. So that's pretty cool. And again, 15 or 19 points, depending on what kind of dice you're going to run. So you could still run him. We'll get to the Death Troopers in a moment, but you can run him in a Stormtrooper, and that would be elite. So 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25 points if you run 2 Krennic and a Stormtrooper. But the ability, like, I'm not exactly sure on the ability yet. Like, if you have to have a Death Trooper in your team, or if it lets you just pull it in and roll it. But very cool card. He is legendary. I'm very much looking forward to getting one of him, because I thought he was a very interesting character in Rogue One, and I like his ability to bring that Death Trooper into play, and I also like that you can fit him into different types of decks. You can run him into mill decks with his discard, or just resource denial with his disrupt. He also generates a resource on his die as well. We're going to take a look at the Death Trooper. We'll be back with that too. All right, and here we are with our Death Trooper. I believe that this is going to make Captain Phasma an even better character, because her ability gives all non-uniques Guardian, and I like that they have 10 health, 10 hit points, and they have an insanely strong die for damage. They have 1 disrupt side, but we'll get to that in a moment. So they have 2 1 damage sides, a 2 damage side, a +2 damage side, and a disrupt. And they're worth 10 points, and they also have 10 hit points, so you can just build an entire squad of Death Troopers and have 3 Death Troopers for your 30 points. Like I mentioned with Krennic, I don't know if you need to have the Death Trooper on your team to use Krennic's ability. If not, Krennic is incredibly strong, and these guys are no pushovers either. 10 hit points, and if you throw Guardian on them, they can, soak up some of the damage to keep Phasma around a little bit longer, and their damage is just incredibly strong with 3 unmodified damage sides and 1 modified damage side. You could these could be a threat. These are going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to getting some of these as well. We have a couple more cards to go through, and we'll be bringing those up shortly. So stay tuned, and we'll be back with the next cards in the set. And the final character that they have spoiled for this next set is, of course, Palpatine himself. Is just insanely powerful. So his point value is incredibly high. So 21 points for a single die, 28 for 2. So essentially, if you're going to run Elite Palpatine, he's the only character you're going to have. But his health, 15 health. That's huge. That's 2 more than Vader. Vader currently is the strongest character as far as health goes. He has 13. Palpatine has 15. So you could run a single Palpatine and like a Tusken Raider, or and have one of each, or you can just run two Palpatine at 28 points. His die is incredibly strong as well, so he has two range damage, three range damage, two discard, two shields, one resource, and a very strong ability. So after you resolve this die, force an opponent to deal two damage to each of their characters distributed as they wish. So basically, you could resolve a two range damage on Palpatine. After that gets resolved, they're going to have to resolve two more damage to their characters. So you can essentially pull off five damage with his three range damage side. You can also have them mill two with the discard face, and then do two damage. You can get two shields and immediately do two damage. Get a resource and do two damage. Um, that's incredibly versatile because you could be like, well, I need some shields. I'm gonna get shields, but also do two damage. And if you play this, say like a single Palpatine and like a Tusken Raider, and get access to stuff with ambush, like unpredictable, could play unpredictable, resolve one of Palpatine's dice, and then do something else as well. Resolve the you can resolve the damage, or if you have anything that also lets you just keep dice out after they get resolved. I think he's going to be very strong. 15 health. Point value is high, but he needs to be high with having 15 health and so many options. You can build him into just like a damage deck because he has the two very high damage size plus his ability. He might fit in a mill deck and also just a resource deck because he has one resource as well. They have one more card that they've shown, and we're going to switch it over and show that as well. So stay tuned. And of course, the Emperor would not be complete without his dreaded Force Lightning. So Force Lightning is a blue ability upgrade. It costs 4, so same as a Mind Probe, kind of on the high side. But we're gonna take a look at the die here really quick. So blue character only. So Palpatine can use it. You could throw it on Vader and have him use Force Lightning as well if you wanted to. But so 2 range damage, 3 range damage at the cost of a resource, 4 range damage at the cost of a resource, 2 specials and a blank. And the special is deal 1 damage to a character, then you may remove a die showing a blank to re-roll this die instead of removing it from your pool. And the thing you should see here is you may remove a die showing a blank. Doesn't have to be yours. Doesn't say it has to be one of your dice. Your opponent may have a blank out. Resolve the special, remove their blank, and re-roll the Force Lightning. If you want to get rid of one, if you have a blank and you're not going to be able to change its face or anything like that, remove your own blank and re-roll it. And you pair this with Palpatine. You have 4 range damage at the cost of a resource. You can then, tie that in with the 3 damage from Palpatine and do 7 damage. And if you resolve Palpatine's die, you're eventually going to be doing a total of 9 damage with by resolving Palpatine's die plus the die for Force Lightning. And that's if you use the 4 range damage side for the cost of a resource. But this just does a ton of damage, gives you a little bit of dice control. I like that it has 2 specials. Die control meaning like if your opponent has a blank, you can remove that blank and re-roll the die. Or like let's say you have Force Choke on Palpatine. Do Force Choke, turn one of their dice to a blank on another round, resolve the special on this, deal 1 damage to the character, and remove their blank, and then re-roll Force Lightning. Like I said, it's 4 points, but you can also it's an upgrade, so you should be able to overwrite a previous ability if you do that. But this makes Palpatine or any blue character you throw this on insanely strong. Throw it on Dooku, he generated Force Lightning. You can throw it on Vader, throw it on Palpatine. I don't know what other blue characters are going to be having for villains, but this die is just also insanely strong. I imagine, and that of course is a legendary as well. But some very cool stuff coming with the this Rogue One inspired set. I don't think it's focusing entirely on Rogue One, but there is going to be a huge amount of stuff from Rogue One in the set. This These are game changing cards at this point because like right now the meta game is fairly well established. These cards, I believe, are going to change up how some of these decks are playing, and the like the fact of Krennic, you can bring a Death Trooper into play. It doesn't state that you have to have it on your team. Um, Also, like Palpatine, Jyn Erso, some of the other cards that were kind of obscured. I'm sure Fantasy Flight is going to be releasing more and more spoilers as we get closer to the release of this set, which is supposed to be second quarter. So we're looking at sometime in the spring. So probably sometime either March or afterward. I'm imagining it'll probably be maybe April or something like that. That's my guess anyway. But very exciting cards coming for Star Wars Destiny. And as more and more of these cards get spoiled, I'm going to be doing videos on them. So just remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I want to thank you for watching this video, and these are very cool. So again, thanks for watching, and take care. I'm already getting excited about this set, so we'll see you for the next video. Take care.